Who's next?
Hey, how you doing? How y'all doing? I'm back in another episode of the If Factor Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Robinson, and today we have someone special. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Talia Edmonds, and I am very, very excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
No problem, no problem. So I would say, how are you doing mentally, physically, and emotionally?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Because I also feel like people, will casually ask, like, "Oh, how are you doing?" But you got real specific, asking me how am I doing mentally, physically, and emotionally. But I think actually really good. I physically I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm a recently retired student athlete. This is my first semester of not having to do sport anymore. So my body feels great physically. Mentally, I feel like I'm in a good place. Same with emotionally. Just been real locked in, like end of semester, just really focused and feeling good.
Got you. Not like that. I would say so. How was your experience attending Michigan State University and now University of Hawaii? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, so I started off my career. I graduated high school in 2018 and I walked on at Michigan State actually. And it was a great, great experience. One of the best universities in the world, I will say that. I love just the community, and I'm originally from Michigan, so I grew up a Michigan State fan, and it was like a dream to be able to go there. And I met some really wonderful people, which I think made the experience. And then I was blessed enough to be able to transfer at the end of so I graduated in 3.5 years at Michigan State. And then I was able to transfer to the University of Hawaii at Manoa, which is my mom was born and raised in Hawaii. And so it was kind of like just another dream come true where I got to come out here and play in front of my family that I had kind of grown up seeing and stuff like that. But this is my first time living out here. So I honestly, my entire career was just like this dream come true. And I just feel so blessed to have met some wonderful, wonderful people along the way as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I'll say, what factors influence you to say, you know what, I'm gonna commit to Michigan State University for not only volleyball but also for the school.
Yeah, that's such a, I honestly, my honest answer is that I didn't have very many other options.
Okay.
I had maybe I was a very underrated recruit out of high school. I grew up playing a bunch of different sports, basketball, softball, volleyball. I played soccer for a year in high school. Like my family was a very athletic, active family, but that also meant that, I couldn't focus in on one sport as much. And so whereas like volleyball club is really a big deal to when you go play nationally and you go do all these things to get exposure. I didn't necessarily get as much exposure because of all the other sports I was playing. And so I had maybe two options. I had one D2 school who offered me a full ride. That was also in Michigan. And then I had just by the slimmest chance, we like knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew the head coach at Michigan State. She saw my film, got to watch me play maybe one time, and she just took a chance on me. And I remember my parents telling me, because I had these two options, like go on scholarship or go play D1 as a walk on and really try to push my athletic abilities to their limits, see where it could take me. And I was so blessed to have parents who encouraged me to go take the walk on position at Michigan State because Big Ten volleyball, for those of you who may not be familiar with volleyball, is one of the best in the country. You have like your Wisconsins, Nebraskas, Michigan State, Michigan's like it's a really big volleyball's a really big deal. And so I chose Michigan State because one, it was one of my only options, but then also I knew it was a great school academically and that I would be getting a good degree going there as well. So
I got you with this. I'll say, what is your it factor? Why do you do what you do?
oh, when you sent me these questions, I was like trying to think about this one. I would just say I've always had a heart for people. I love helping people. I love getting to know people. I love building relationship. And sports was always a way for me to do that. I also am very competitive. Like I said, I grew up in a really athletic family. Both my parents were college athletes. My brother's a D1 athlete as well. Like it just kind of runs in our family that everything we do is a competition. And that can kind of be, I don't know, it definitely has its pros and cons, but I think what has made me me and what my it factor is a combination of who I am as an individual, but then also I'm definitely a product of my family and a product of the people who have loved me on all the way through this journey that I've been on. So I don't know if that kind of answers it, but
Yes, I like that. I like that.
okay.
Look, and it's your answer. That's why I
Okay.
ask questions. But I would say I like that it's genuine and it's you. So that's what
Mhm.
matters. That's what I mean when I say what's a good factor. So I would say, how was that transition for you, transitioning and transferring home, and also being able to play at your mom alma mater and in front of your family? Like I know that was cool. Like how was that for you?
Yeah. Oh man, it was I I can look back and I have just so much appreciation for honestly how smooth it's been. I think it's very rare, especially when that you get to leave one school that you love, go to another school that you also love. And because these days the transfer portal is a crazy, crazy place. And I've heard a lot of horror stories of people ending up in places that they hate or in places that just they aren't what they said they were. And I was, and I keep saying this, but I was extremely blessed to come into a culture that not only volleyball was a top priority, they love volleyball here in the state of Hawaii. And for those of you who don't, also know that there's no professional teams here. So the University of Hawaii is like essentially the sports are like the professional teams, and the community is just so amazing. So I credit the smooth transition to my coaches who supported me and were amazing, but also the girls on the team who welcomed me in, but then also the community of Hawaii because it's just it's so different here in terms of the culture and what they prioritize. Like it's way more relational. And then it's like the mainland, like compared to the mainland where things are a little bit your people are prioritizing productivity, which is not a bad thing at all. I think it's just you're definitely slowing down when you come here. And so my mom actually played. So there's the University of Hawaii at Manoa where I go, and then my mom played at the University of Hawaii Hilo, which was a smaller school. But she was like, her team there was like a legend. They're legendary, and I never knew she won like 5 national championships. D2, like just yes, insane. She's in the Hall of Fame 2 times. And so I didn't know any of this coming out here. My mom is very humble. She's just, and so I got her and I called her one day because I had people coming up to me just like, oh, your mom was amazing. Your mom was an amazing volleyball player. Like you remind me so much of her. And I called her, I was like, Mom, you never told me that you were like really good. And so that within itself was an amazing
Uh,
experience just to see how much reverence people had for not only the volleyball player that she was, but this person. And they really just talked about her energy and they talked about her leadership and all these intangible things that sometimes get lost when we're talking about athletics.
yeah, and they remembered that. They like, wait a minute, your mama was fine. You
Yes.
know you gonna be fine. Look, wait a minute, let me show you. And you like, huh, mama, my mama. You sure?
Yes.
Like, so that's cool to know, and
Yeah.
I'm so proud you got to honor that with your mom. Man. Now
Yeah.
transition outside of the sport. How does that feel? How does that feel? I'm not an athlete no more. You said it's your first semester not being an athlete. How does that feel?
Yeah, this is the the dreaded part of your career that everyone always talks about where it's like, it is and I'm studying to be well, I'm getting my degree, my MSW, my master's of social work and my specializations in behavioral mental health. So I have this like really mental health kind of wired brain where I'm constantly thinking about it, and it's one of the things transitioning from athletics to kind of what would be real life in a lot of ways is one of the most talked about things in mental health for athletes because it can hit you really hard. And I think I personally at the beginning, so I ended my career in January and it's what about to be May now, and I can't even believe that the opportunities I've been presented since I've been done with sport. I will, however, say that it was at first very, very challenging to kind of adapt to my whole life for 6 years was structure, structure, structure. It was, you're training for this, you're getting ready for season, you're training for off season, you have to eat this and do this. So it was I'm going from all of that structure to now I could do whatever
Right.
I want to do. And to an extent, it is the freedom is amazing. And I think because I'm still in school, there's still a level of like, okay, I have to go to class. But I think that it's been when you have the perspective that this is just, it was inevitable that I was going to have to be done with sport one day and everybody will be. I think I was already kind of preparing for that. And I can also, like towards the end of my season, and I can also say that I am good with how I look back at my career. I feel I gave volleyball everything that I had in terms of being a player. I gave to my teammates, I really did everything that I could when I had the opportunity. So I have no regrets looking back. And I think that that is very much why I can be so okay now. And then I've also been really, really building into my faith, which is also a big part of who I've become today. So I would say for me, I have been fortunate enough that this transition has been easier. I wouldn't say easy, but easier maybe than some people experience it. But it's definitely a change.
I like that. And I say, what I would say in the next thing I would say, who are you outside of all your America?
I'm first and foremost, I am a child of God. I've that identity that I've found in even in kind of like the last year that's been a whole testimony within itself. But I think I'm rooting myself in something now that because if sports was my identity and sports just ended, I would have been in shambles. Like if that was where my value was held, if that's where, which for a long time it was, and a lot of athletes also go through that, and it's a constant working through of reminding yourself you are not your sport, you're not your performance, you're not, who people say you are, you're who you choose to be, and I think that for me separating my identity from sport in a way like I always recognize it as it's going to be a big part of my life for the rest of my life just because I feel like that's my calling and my purpose. But yeah, first and foremost, I'm a child of God, and then I think second, I'm somebody who really, like I said earlier, just cares a lot about people and has a heart for giving and serving. And so I hope I don't know exactly where I'm going to be or what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of months, next couple of years, but I'd hope that it is something that is in line with my identity in Christ, but it also is in line with um my gifts and the things that I love to do, which is sports. I love kids. I love just having conversation just like this. I love podcasts. I love animals. I have this nurturing spirit. So I found that I'm way more than just a student athlete or just volleyball. Like it had been for me for so long before this.
I like that. I like that, and I think that you're gonna do an amazing job at that. Well, I know you are because of what you're saying. You're majoring. So I would say, what would it mean for you to be a sports psychologist? What would that mean for you? Or if you were that practitioner, what would that mean for you? Because I mean, athletes need you because you got the inside. You got
Yeah.
in there. You know what
Yeah.
to say. So
I
how
think
would it be?
it's so I think it's so funny because I checked out the last episode that you just did with I think her name's Jada and
Mhm.
I was like it felt nice because she was like just saying these things that I was like wow, there are people out there that have similar passions to me, and it was so encouraging even just to see that on your podcast. So I just
Thank
want
you.
to shout that out really quick. So yeah, she wants to also be a clinician. I want to be a clinician. I'm thinking about going to get my PhD either in clinical psych or counseling psych. Because right now, as a social worker, I think social work brings such a holistic kind of perspective to something that psychology is more of like the brain and the individual, whereas social work is giving it more of a we're people who are products of our environment, and I think that that is the case for everybody, but it's also the case especially for student athletes. And just like you said, I'm like I was given this platform, I was given this journey, and I feel like if I don't do anything with it, then it's gonna be a waste. So it partially was, yes, I've had 6 years of collegiate experience, and then literally basing my entire life before that in sports. And I think that not only does that experience or is that experience valuable in the realm of sports, but just in it, sports teaches you lessons that I think are everyone's going to learn eventually, but they're just expedited in terms of you're in a team environment, at least for volleyball. You're learning leadership, you're learning conflict resolution. And so all of these things, while I really, really want to specialize and pursue sports psych, I think that I've been introduced to this world of performance psychology, which is essentially can be included. So that's music, that's business, that's, any level of where there's some pressure and you have to perform under it. I think that that is something that I've really had a heart for wanting to help people with. And I am just excited to pursue that. I think it means the world to me that I even get the opportunity to continue to pursue my education, to be in spaces where people are willing to take my opinions into consideration. I think that all of those things are so valuable to me, which is why being a practitioner or being in a position to disseminate knowledge to people and give knowledge to people that can help them better their lives. And I think that that is such a blessing and such a privilege. And I do not by any means take that for granted, even as I'm in the process of pursuing it and getting to that place.
I like that. I like that. And I would say, before we do close, got a few more questions. I would say, how do you envision, that job? Let's talk about because you about to graduate. You gonna graduate. How do you envision it? How do you want it to be? Let's say that. How do you want it?
I knew from a very young age, I didn't want a desk job. I didn't want a job where I'd have to sit in an office and show up from 9 to 5. So as I've gotten older, younger me was on the right track because I still don't like any of those things. I'm a very interactive, get involved type of person. I love coaching. That's another one of my passions. While I can't foresee myself pursuing volleyball outside of more of like a recreational fun thing, I can see myself coaching and really teaching youth about volleyball and about the skill, yes, but about all of the intangible things, kind of like we were talking about earlier, of leadership and conflict resolution and all those things. And so yeah, I want to be involved in some ways. I want to be able to work with people and athletes from different levels, from like your highest level all the way down to your community youth center that is, hosting sports events and things like that. So I want to be really versatile in the populations I'm working with because there's value at every level. And I think that that's kind of like I'm very much an optimist and idealist, so I don't even know if that's possible. Like in terms of like I don't know what jobs really exist like that. I guess consulting, maybe having my own practice. I haven't really thought that far. I really just think about okay, what are these ideal kind of environments that I want to be in, and how can I combine those with my faith to believe that God will make those things happen for me. And so I very much also been more involved in ministry. And I think that intersecting those two, because I think for so long it's been like mental health or church or spiritual or, science. Like I don't believe that they have to exist apart from each other. I really don't.
They can be,
Yes.
they can be
Yeah,
together.
like we're holistic
Look,
beings. Why do we think that,
they're
we
supposed to
have
be together. They
we're
supposed
supposed to be.
we
And
the
so
ones separating. We the ones.
yes, and I don't at all agree with that. I absolutely, and so I think that another part for me is as I'm kind of going is like intertwining those things and trying to understand that you can have the best of both worlds in the sense that you can be fulfilled emotionally, physically, spiritually, and you can live a healthy life in that way. So it's like I have all of these ideas. I'm a really big. I have all these dreams and aspirations, and I feel like God has always just been there just stringing them together. So I'm hoping that that's what being a practitioner can look like for me. And I'm starting to see that it can be more of a reality as I kind of pursue these different routes.
It's gonna be dope. I can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Like,
appreciate
hey,
that.
Jeremy, I did this. Look, when our episode coming out, I can't
Yeah,
wait.
I
So I'd say, what is something you would like to see change in the world?
know. Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. I kind of on the same note as what I was just saying about people having this idea that the things have to exist apart from one another. I would love for there to be a more accepting and holistic view of integrating spirituality just into sport, into your work, into all the things that, the daily stresses of this life that we're living. I think that's a big change. I would want people to just have a different perspective on what it means to be healthy. And I think that in a lot of ways we stop at physical health, we stop at getting your exercise, sure, like we stop at eating healthy, but I also think that there's a level of mental health, because mental health is absolutely health, that I hope people can adopt a more positive lens on, in terms of you have the power, like being empowered within yourself to know that it's you have everything you need within you to be able to feel good and do good. And then you also have relationships with people that are going to push you even further in that direction of becoming healthy and fulfilling your purpose. Because I think in our generation, especially today, people are just a little lost. We're just a little everywhere. And that's okay, because I am too. Like, I'm not an exception to that. But I'd like us to also shift from finding communities online to also going to find communities within your actual community and being in relation with people in real life. Like, I think, and even just having conversations like this conversation is so much just like giving me, like, fulfilling me, because I'm like, wow, I wish people would just sit down. And it's also a big reason why I have my own podcast, but it's I wish people would just sit down more often, be inquisitive about each other's lives. And that's kind of a roundabout answer to, I hope that people can view mental health in a more positive way, more holistic way, and that we can also prioritize relationship.
I like that. I like that. And that's one reason why I podcast. I feel like it's a great way to communicate, meet people, and you get out of that stigma of who is Jeremy? Oh, he
Yeah.
got athletes. He talked to doctors. He talked to lawyers. Oh no, he's just helping people. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I like that. Okay, cool. And I think that that's why I agree and be able to get in touch with so many people, because I realized that long time ago, 2019, I started the podcast. I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get these people. But after a while, you realize it's not about you. It's bigger than you. And God has a plan for me on what I'm doing with this podcast. So been thankful in doing it, and it's been positive because I started to pin myself out the way and say, hey, let me see if I can reach out to different people and get them to come on. And it's been good.
That's amazing.
So
That's amazing.
I would say, when it's all said and done, what's something you would love to be remembered for?
Hmm. I hope people just remember me as somebody that they could feel safe around, that they could feel accepted by, that they could feel loved by, that they could feel seen by. Um, yeah, I hope they just can look back and think, wow, she like was this light that opened up that space for me to be who I am, be my complete self. And I think that that is the best thing that you could possibly ever be to anybody. It's just that space, like just that presence that makes them feel like there's good people that exist in the world, and that there's good in the world. Because I think we're so often kind of bombarded by all of the bad that is in the world, and with social media and with all these other things, and with the bad that is in the world, there you can sometimes get lost in the fact that there's also amazing people and individuals that God is placing in your life for a purpose. And I think that I would only hope that the people in my life, the people that get to meet me and encounter me, can at least say that it's not about who I was as a volleyball player, that they just really um could feel that good energy, or that safe space being around me.
Definitely. And they're gonna be able to do that. Even from you this one day doing a podcast. And I saw your page, and that's usually how I explain to people. I see it, and I'm like, it's something in them. I need them. Sure.
Mhm.
So I say, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. Well, you got into it a little bit, but this is gonna be my very podcasty mind. I'm so interested. So what was it for you that was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this podcast thing.
So literally 2019. It actually had picked down his planted the seeds way before that. I literally was in college, a computer science, computer engineering major. College is tough. Like I wouldn't lie to anyone that it's not. But everybody can do it. That's why I always say if I can do it, anybody can do it. So I was in a
Mhm.
class. The class was tough. And I literally remember looking on YouTube for people that look like me. I'm like, let me see. Okay, cool. I'm at a HBCU. I'm still not being taught by nobody that look like me. So that was one thing I was going through my head. And I just went to God and said, hey, I'm going to pray about this. Literally prayed. And I said, God, if you get me through these classes, literally it was that simple. I'm going to do something to give back. I don't know what it is. So time goes. I graduate, different things happen and I get a job and I'm working, and it kept coming back. Like it's like, hey, still gotta do something to get back. Still gotta do something to get back. And it showed up in different ways. And I'm like, what am I not doing? And I literally was sitting in the room with one of my friends that's a videographer. And he was like, hey man, we should do something, man. I need to test out my skills. You good at connecting and networking with people, man. Let's see what could happen. And he like, let's start a TV show. And I'm like, okay, man. I don't know what can happen. And I'm like, okay, what's the TV show gonna be about? He's like, well, you know people in. I'm like, well, I know people in tech, cool. But once it goes, I start talking to my mom and my family about it, and my girlfriend, which is my wife now, and everybody was literally like, you know, more than just people in tech. Like interview everybody, so that
Mhm.
it's not just one box. So once I start doing that, I tell you not, everything just started taking off. And I started at first it's like, oh, I needed to be these numbers. I want to be this on YouTube. I want to make money from it. And it's like, God, the whole time God was trying to show me, no, I want you to minister people through this.
Mhm.
And don't like look at it for the numbers or the money. And I find myself sometimes still because I'm not perfect. Oh, why does not happen? Oh man, I want to interview this person. And it's like what God has for you is gonna happen, and it happens naturally. So I've learned that through my whole podcasting origin that, and it helps me in life. Like things happen naturally. Like I feel like when you're forcing things, that's when mental comes in. Like, oh, you're gonna be mentally drained because you're doing something you don't even supposed to be doing.
Oh, so true.
Definitely figure that out, and just trying to figure it out. Also working in the tech field and things like that, that can be very draining. So having something like a podcast actually helps me, man. And don't get me wrong. The day
It's
I
the
do
most
make money, it's gonna be cool. It's
it's the most like that's what I've been realizing. It's the most like that's the least stressful time of my day or like part is like, oh, I get to just go sit down and talk with somebody and I so that's you also answered you basically answered my other question, which was, what advice would you give to somebody who's new to podcasting? And I think you kind of touched on it, but if you want to finish out with that, then I would love to hear your word of advice.
my biggest advice is doing it since 2019, being a student of it, and you see the different athletes and different people, professionals that come in and they got this great following, all these things. The biggest thing is don't look at them. Look at what your impact is going to be. That is going to keep you going when the money does come. And you make so much money that, oh, I don't want to do this no more. No, you're going to remember, like, no, I'm doing this for the kid that's like me. No, I'm doing this for the adult that needs help. And that's when you know that it's your calling and also that it's for you. Like it's
Yeah.
for you. And I would say also stay consistent in what you do. Like, don't have no problem having no conversation. When you graduate college, don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's gonna be hard. Oh man, like I gotta find a job. I gotta do this. Find what's best for you. And podcasting actually help you line it up because at the end of the day, it ain't nothing to get on Zoom or I'm willing to fly to people. And people look at me like, you really? Yeah. Look, let's knock this episode out. It's gonna be great. And I learned that it's not about me. Like my team get bread, man, and look real good when they do these things. Like we were able to go interview an NFL player in Baltimore. I've been knowing him since he was in college, and to go see him play for the Baltimore Ravens and also interview him. That's not only helping me; that was helping my team that was recording. That's what
That's
it's all about.
yeah.
It's not about you're going to go interview. Like people tell me, oh man, you interviewed Chris Paul, you did this. Yeah, but my team get to say, yeah, they did the editing, they did this. It's not
Yeah,
about
yeah.
me. They're people.
Yeah.
They're people, and I'm just telling their stories. And I said, had I figured this out a long time ago, nobody's telling. I may not ever been in tech. I may
Yeah.
not ever been.
That is,
I may
hey,
have never been working in tech, and that's what I'm figuring out now. Only 29 years old. I love doing podcasting, but those are my biggest things. Stay consistent, believe in yourself, and don't never ever let someone else stop you from doing this thing. Don't ever look at somebody and say, well, they doing this and they got this and they you didn't do that when you was an athlete, so why would you do it now? So,
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. That was amazing advice. And thank you so much for even just thinking of me and having me on this podcast. I love what you're doing. And I am so excited to just continue to see where you take this journey. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Same. Man. I hope to keep seeing you grow. Look, you about to graduate, so that's good. And some great things are gonna come your way even before graduation. So,
Thank you. Yes. Amen. Amen.
I look forward to talking to you again. This episode will be coming out in season 6, so I'm in
Amazing.
season 5 now. But I'm gonna stay in communication with you, as you see on my page. I stay in contact with everybody. And anytime something come up, you want me to promote it or anything of that nature, let me know. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And can't wait. I can't wait.
I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you. Bye bye.